All right, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to another Breakpoint episode. Just like not every, it's like a third one. So, yeah, the agenda is the same. We're going to continue with the fundamentals of software architecture. And in today's episode, we got chapter 2, titled Architectural Thinking. This is a pretty cool one. And then we're going to continue with CodeCrafters, building our own Redis in JavaScript. So I hope everyone's been great so far. Evie, how's it going? Hey Digital, is this a new YouTube intro or did you source this elsewhere? This one is really nice. Yeah, it's I think these videos were generated by Google's DeepMind, and I think I found them on like pexels.com or something like that. They're like free AI generated, videos that you can use. So I just, it looked really cool. So I was like, yeah, this is gonna be my new intro. All right. Yeah, let's dive in then, right? Yeah, they're really cool. All right. I'm gonna post a link to the repo just so you all can be aware that it exists. There it is. And let's move into chapter 2, architectural thinking. This is a really cool chapter because it does touch into like the not the responsibilities, but like the importance of having a technical breadth. There's an interesting frozen caveman anti-pattern that we're going to discuss, and this part is especially cool with analyzing trade-offs, which we'll see like an auction system with a topic, an auction system using queues, and how as an architect, we can analyze the trade-offs between these two and which one should we pick. And yeah, and then at the end there's like the importance of balancing architecture and hands-on coding. So yeah, let's just dive in. This is chapter 2 of the Fundamentals of Software Architecture book. It is titled Architectural Thinking. And the architectural thinking is seeing things differently from a developer's perspective. It's not just thinking about the architecture or thinking about how am I going to connect these two services or these multiple services, or are we going serverless or VPS, etc. It's not just thinking about the structure. There's more to it. So there are like 4 aspects of thinking like an architect. First is understanding the difference between architecture and design. This is really important, and there's like a whole section dedicated to it, like architecture versus design. So we'll talk about that. Second is having a wide breadth of technical knowledge while still maintaining a certain level depth. And that is the next section right here. Third one is analyzing, understanding, and reconciling trade-offs between solutions and technologies. Again, with the analyzing trade-off section at the bottom. And the fourth one is on understanding the importance of business drivers and how they translate to architectural concerns. There wasn't too much in this section. As you can see, it's like a single paragraph. But yeah, we are gonna go through each of these. All right, so understanding the difference between architecture and design, or the architecture versus design. Thinking like an architect is knowing the difference between architecture and design. Traditionally, an architect's responsibility included analyzing business requirements and translating them into architectural characteristics, deciding architectural patterns and styles, or which that will be used. This can be improved as a sentence, and creating components or the building blocks of the system. And these artifacts were then handed off to the development team. What this basically means is the architect, has a meeting with the stakeholders. They learn about the business domain of the application or the business itself. They learn about the gotchas. They learn about the facts and the environment, etc. And having the business domain in mind, having the nature of things within that application, like for example the type of the audience, etc., etc. The main idea is that the architect's responsibility is to get those business requirements and translate them to architectural characteristics, which we touched upon in the previous episode. If you haven't watched that, go to my YouTube channel and you'll see a video of the first chapter. Those are the ilities like scalability, elasticity, what else was there? Security. There's like a whole bunch of them. But yeah, that's basically the architect's responsibility. And traditionally, this has been the setup in companies. So there's like the architect here. The architect produces the characteristics, the style, architectural style that is going to be used, the component structure, and all of these were handed off to the developer. So the developer can, or developers can produce class designs, the user interface, the source code, basically get the artifacts from the architect and produce the application or build the application, right? So this is architecture, this is design. And the architecture versus design, or especially the traditional responsibility model that divides the architecture from design is broken. It doesn't work. And the issue is the unidirectional arrow that passes through these both virtual and physical barriers. That's what's wrong with this setup, because it separates the architect from the developer. For example, decisions that the architect makes sometimes never make it to the development team, right? Especially if it's just turn on do not disturb so we don't have like notifications and stuff. There we go. Yeah, sometimes never make it to the development team. For example, decisions that were made a bit later on, because of that barrier, they might never make it to the development team, and also vice versa. Decisions that the development team makes that affect the architecture never make it back to the architect, right? For example, the developers might make a decision: we can't really use this library or this or implement this approach because X, Y, and Z. And they're just not going to, they're not going to do it. They're going to do ABC instead. But ABC changes things, right? And it's important that that decision goes back to the architect so that the architect can analyze the trade-offs, which we'll learn about in the third section here, and make the needed changes to the overall architecture to support ABC instead of XYZ, right? And this barrier between these two is what prevents that communication. So yeah, in order to make architecture work, we need to break down the barriers. The architect and the developer must be on the same team. This also allows the architect to provide mentoring and coaching to the developers on the team. Yeah, this has been like the traditional responsibility model. You have the architect or the chief architect or the lead architect and a bunch of developers. And these two work or used to work in silos. That has been proven that it's not good, right? Now we have the agile methodology of running things. We have sprints and short deliverables. We ship often, and that makes, that allows us to iterate on our solutions and also just, experiment more and often. And having this barrier just doesn't work, right? So yeah, where does architecture end and design start? It doesn't, right? This needs to be broken down if it's not in certain teams. And yeah, both architecture and design, or in this case, it's development, but yeah, they coexist in parallel within the life cycle of the software project and must be kept in synchronization. The life cycle of the software project means it's not about the architect goes in, designs the whole thing, and then gets out, and then the developers go in and take the designs and work while the architect is someplace else. During the life cycle of the software project, both architects and developers work together in cohesion on the same project at the same time. So that's what this section is trying to tell us. Right, so that was the first aspect, right? Architects and developers working together. The second one is the architects having a decent technical breadth and why that is important. So a developer focuses on acquiring and maintaining technical depth, while an architect focuses on technical breadth. It's crucial to have a significant amount of breadth in order to think like an architect. And we can categorize all the knowledge of the human into three sections. The stuff that we know is at the top. The stuff we know that we don't know. For example, I know Kubernetes exists, but I haven't worked with it, so I don't know Kubernetes. And there's also stuff we don't know that we don't know. And I can't talk about them because I don't know them, right? So this is the knowledge pyramid. The developer focuses on expanding this stuff they know. And this, the further down this is, the technical depth is, or the knowledge, the technical knowledge is deeper. But that's for the developer. For the architect, the most important parts are the first two. It is still important to maintain. I mean, all of that's actually here, but like the first two are the most important parts of the pyramid for the architect, especially making the stuff we know we don't know, thus the middle parts, expand into the bottom parts. The more the architect does that, the more technical breadth they have, and that's where the value comes from, right? Is having a broad technical understanding and knowing how to use it to solve a particular problem. Yes, the top and the middle. That's why it's wise for an aspiring architect as well. So for the architect, but also aspiring architects as well, people like you watching, to sacrifice some hard-won expertise to gain time to broaden their technological portfolio, right? So we are developers by, for starters, we focus on getting technical depth, but some developers decide to move into software architecture, into the architect role, and they need to sacrifice some time instead of focusing on depth to actually broaden their technological portfolio or the technologies that the concepts, etc. Of course, some expertise will remain, most likely the technologies that the architect enjoys working with. For example, if you are passionate about front-end and CSS, those things will remain. You will remain an expert in those things because you will practice them. You like that. You like building UIs. But you're also focusing on, on broadening your technical portfolio. But others will usefully atrophy. I like this phrasing here, usefully atrophy. You're going to let parts of your skills atrophy, but usefully in order to trade them for time so that you can gain more breadth, technical breadth. And transitioning to an architect role from a developer role means a shift in perspective, which many developers find difficult. And this causes two common dysfunctions. First, an architect tries to maintain expertise in wide variety of areas, succeeding in none of them. This means that the architect that used to be a developer is trying to remain just as good as developer, while also, broaden their technical or to broaden their technological understanding. But this basically means they're gonna succeed in none of them, right? Because you can have to. The time is limited. And the second one is gaining having stale expertise, which means the mistaken sensation that your outdated information is still cutting edge. These are the two common dysfunctions, or the two common situations that developers can find themselves in when shifting to the architect role. So be on the lookout. There's this interesting frozen caveman anti-pattern explained here, and that's basically a behavioral anti-pattern that describes an architect who always reverts back to their irrational concerns for every architecture. There's a situation, one of Neil's colleagues, Neil is one of the authors of this book, they worked on a centralized system, but each time they delivered a design, they asked, but what if we lose Italy? So several years before, a communication problem had prevented the HQ to communicate with the stores in Italy, and that caused great inconveniences. I think this is like softening the effect, like inconvenience. It's not inconvenience. It can be like business critical, not being able to communicate to your franchises in Italy. But yeah, because of that, the architect can, become obsessed with this particular architectural characteristic, which is availability, right, or scalability. I don't know in that case what the characteristic has been, but yeah. This anti-pattern manifests in architects who have been burned, just like Neil's colleague, who have been burned in the past by either a bad decision or something unexpected, making them particularly cautious in the future. And that's why, even though they worked on a centralized system, there's no, for example, servers in Italy that communicates within their own network. So what if we use Italy? There's no more Italy, right? There is Italy, the country. The stores are there, but it's a centralized system, right? But because the colleague was burned in the past by that mistake, he keeps asking, but what if we lose Italy? That means his mind, I'm assuming that it's a his. I don't know why I started saying that, but yeah, that means Neil's colleague is focused on that characteristic, which might not be applicable in the current project, right? In that case, it's a centralized system. There's no Italy networks. Yeah, assessing the risk is important, but we should also be realistic. We should understand the difference between genuine and perceived technical risk. Thinking like an architect means overcoming these frozen caveman ideas, seeing other solutions, and asking more relevant questions. Another thing to be on the lookout. All right, let's get into the third part, analyzing trade-offs, which is one of the aspects of architectural thinking: understanding, analyzing, and reconciling trade-offs between solutions and technologies. Thinking like an architect is seeing trade-offs in every solution and analyzing them to determine which one is the best. There's a quote by Mark Richards, one of the authors: "Architecture is the stuff you can't Google." And I like this quote, really like this quote. Because, the most famous architectural answer to every question, it depends. Remember that from last episode? Yeah. So, because everything, the answer to everything is it depends, that's why you can't really Google that, right? There's a possible solution, but it depends. Maybe in your case, it's not the solution. Everything in architecture is a trade-off. Hence the famous answer to everything: it depends. There's another quote by Neil Fort: "There are no right or wrong answers in architecture, only trade-offs." So we're going to see an example of an item auction system where someone places a bid for an item up for auction. The bid producer service generates a bid from the bidder and sends it to the bid capture, bid tracking, and bid analytics services, right? This is like a microservice situation, and we need to figure out the communication. There are two possible, or like the inters microservice communication. So there are two possible solutions: using topics like PubSub or queues, point to point. Which one should the architect use? So let's analyze the topic solution. Here's how it looks like. We have topic here. Apache Kafka. The bid producer sends the item bid event to the Kafka topic, and now the bid capture, bid tracking, and bid analytics have subscribed to that topic, and they immediately get the event, right? That's how the communication happens in using a topic. Yeah, and so the pros are that the bid producer only requires a single connection to the topic, right? That's important. If a new service gets added, like bid history, for example, we're not gonna need to change the existing system. We don't need to update bid producer. We just need to add the bid history here and subscribe it to that specific topic, and that's it, right? And the bit producer is more, this way it's more decoupled, and it doesn't know how the bit info is used. So the clear advantage of this architecture is architectural extensibility, right? We have a central topic system like Kafka. There are producers, there are consumers. In this case, the bit producer is a producer, and the three services on the right are all consumers, which they subscribe to the topic in order to get the events and the details, right? Now let's look at the queues. The queue system looks like this. There's a queue for each of the services or each of the consumers, let's say, and the bit producer needs to explicitly send the item bid to those queues in order to communicate to the capture, the tracking, and analytics services. If we compare the queue solution to the topics solution, the bit producer needs a separate connection to each queue. That means the bit producer, it just needs a separate connection. That's networking, that's latency, etc. And that's also three network requests to communicate one event. Adding a new service means creating a new queue and connecting to it. So it's not just about the service, it's also spinning up a whole new queue. And that means the bit producer is more coupled. It knows how the bit info is used because it explicitly sends the item bid to the services, to their queues. But that also means adding a new service will need to, in that case, we're gonna need to refactor the bit producer and include sending the item bid to it, right? So these are all like negative aspects of using queues. You might think, let's just go with the topics. But thinking architecturally is also looking at the negatives of the given solution or the trade-offs. So let's look at the trade-offs for the topic solution. First, anyone can access the bidding data. And this is a huge issue with data access and security, right? In this case, the bid producer sends the bid to the topic or to the, I think it was called broker. Anyone can subscribe to the topic and get the data, right? The broker doesn't actually pick which consumer can consume, I think. So out of the box, this can be a security issue. There can be a rogue service that can just subscribe and get all of the bids, right? But we don't want to send that data to that service. But in contrast, in the queues solution, the bid producer knows exactly where it sends the data and can alert, when a rogue service tries to wiretap into it. So this is more secure. This is less secure, right? The contracts are homogeneous. The contracts are basically the shape of the data that the producer sends to the consumer. In the topic case, there's just one contract. It's the item bid and that's it, right? The bid capture, the bid tracking, and the bid analytics, all three services will receive the same data from the bid producer, and they need to make it work, right? Because this is not a specialized connection. It's just broadcasting. Here's an item bid. Who wants to, the data? Who wants to get it? Be my guests. So the contracts are homogeneous. It sends out only one shape of data, forcing all the subscriber services to accept it or make use of it. But in the queues solution, just scroll it like this. The bid producer can fine-tune the bidding information per service because it explicitly sends them to each of the services. For example, to the bid capture, it can send one section of the data. To the bid tracking, it can send maybe the whole bid. The bid analytics, maybe it just needs the ID and the price. I don't know, whatever is needed for the bid analytics. So in this case, we have, better communication per service. And then third, the topic model does not support monitoring of the number of messages in the topic, and hence auto-scaling is harder to implement. Now, this is technology-specific trade-offs. Some messaging protocols do support programmatic load balancing and monitoring. There's a huge, I mean, not a huge, but there is a disclaimer that some topic implementations can support monitoring, but some don't. So there can be auto-scaling issues in this solution. In the queue solution, each queue can be monitored individually because there are separate queues, right? Hey, they can be monitoring individually, and we can apply programmatic load balancing to scale them automatically. So here's a little table of the advantages and disadvantages, for example, to the topic solution. But looking at the, like after analyzing the trade-offs, which is a better option? Again, it depends, right? The advantages of the topic solution is that it provides architectural extensibility, but it lacks security, and it has some data access concerns because of the the nature of the topic. Another advantage is that it decouples the services or the consumers from the producers. Anyone can just tap into the topic and receive the data, but the disadvantage is no heterogeneous contracts. It just sends out one data shape, and all of the services will either have to take it or leave it, basically. And there's also no monitoring and programmatic scalability in some of the cases, or some of the implementations that do not support monitoring. So yeah, everything has a trade-off. Thinking like an architect is analyzing these trade-offs and then asking which is more important, extensibility or security, right? And this is also important why as an architect you need a good business domain knowledge, because if this is a banking application or a healthcare application, you would definitely prioritize security or extensibility. So if you're working on an application where the data or data access is, the data is sensitive, the data access is very strict, you would go with queues because you need to ensure security. If this is not, or if the application is not that type, if it's like I don't know, social media, just like tweeting 280 character tweets, no, not really full of sensitive information and stuff like that, the data is pretty much public, then go for extensibility because it's going to be better and the team is going to implement it much faster, right? So yeah, it always depends, the decision between the solutions always depend on the business drivers, the environment, the team, the knowledge of the development team. Are they skilled in Python, or they're skilled in JavaScript? It's not just the decision between these two, but like every architectural decision is based on these on these factors, basically. Understanding business drivers. Thinking like an architect is understanding business drivers and translating them into architecture characteristics. I just touched on that with the security and the banking and stuff. This requires the architect to have a certain level of understanding of the business domain and to have a healthy collaborative relationship with the business stakeholders. So basically, as an architect, you cannot allow yourself for the stakeholders to hate you or not to trust you, because it is important to to have a collaborative relationship. Why? Let's say you work. There was an interesting example, I think, further in the book. There was an interesting about a franchising restaurant, a restaurant franchise where the stores are all located on like the East Coast, and they need an app that will allow the people to order breakfasts, right? It's a breakfast place, a breakfast restaurant, and people can order breakfast from the application. And the business domain in this case includes where the audience or the users are. They're all on the East Coast. They're in California and Washington and Oregon and Portland, etc. They're on the West Coast. Did I say East Coast? Doesn't matter. They're on the West Coast, so that time zone, and that tells us something that when it comes to availability, when it comes to scalability, and also when it comes to elasticity. Those three characteristics are defined just by knowing that the restaurant only has users on the West Coast. We don't need to support Europe, we don't need to support Asia. All of our servers need to be on the closer to the West Coast, right? Another thing, it's a breakfast place. It's not a dinner place, right? That means the majority of the traffic is going to come in the morning hours when breakfast is served. And because we know that all of them are, all the users are on the West Coast, we can really pinpoint where or in what time frame we can anticipate the most traffic or the spikes of traffic, right? People go at I don't know, at the office at 9 a.m. At 9:15 they start ordering breakfasts. So at 9:15 you can expect a sudden surge of users. And if we're talking about elasticity, and you're working in AWS as an architect, you can say from like 8:30 until 11, increase the number of nodes or number of servers to 10, so that it can handle the, if you're doing like EC2s, you can increase the number of instances to 10, so that the application or the platform can survive the surge, right? Can survive the spike, and then scale them down to like 2. That's another that's another decision or architectural characteristic that the architecture can make, knowing the business domain and the nature of the application that they're building. So that's what this means. And then in the end, we have balancing architecture and hands-on coding. And let me just take a sip of water. AF says, at work I use GCP, pops up a lot. Seems like it can be set up to work both as a topic and as a queue. Yeah, there are many solutions like that that can support both mechanisms, basically. The difference is how the topic is set up, of course. This is a really good for the path I'm on. I keep getting interrupted from watching with recruiter calls also. All right, yeah. Balancing architecture and hands-on coding. Every architect should code and be able to maintain a certain level of technical depth. The first tip is to avoid the bottleneck trap. Let's say that you want to maintain, you should maintain technical depth and have an ongoing hands-on coding activities within the while you're working on the project. But the first thing you should look out is to avoid the bottleneck trap. And that is when the architect takes ownership of critical code and becomes a bottleneck to the team. You're an architect and you have different responsibilities, but you still have you still have some time to do some coding. If you take ownership of critical code and you only work on that in your free time, you're gonna block the whole team. Like, the developers are going to catch up with you and like at the very beginning of the sprint, and they're gonna wait for you to finish working on the critical codes so that they can continue. That's a bottleneck. And this happens because the architect is not a full-time developer and can produce code with the same frequency as the developers can. To avoid this, the architect should delegate critical code to the others and focus on coding business functionalities that are 1 or 3 iterations or sprints down the road. So these can be features that are planned, but in like or nice to haves, not must haves, or like planned for a future sprint. The architect can work on them so that they don't become a bottleneck to the team. Another tip is to do frequent proof of concepts. And this is really important for an architect. This not only helps you write code, right? It's a POC, you're still writing code, but it also important because it allows you to test and validate the architecture decisions. And I think this is also a natural aspects, of working as an architect. You make a decision, but you need to validate that, right? You don't always have the knowledge and the confidence whether that's going to work or not. You might be missing some information or like some aspects, details of the technology. We discussed that the architects they have technical breadth, not depth. That means they're not experts at everything. That means they're missing a lot of details when it comes to specific technologies or frameworks or languages, right? Doing these proof of concepts will allow you to, as an architect, to fill up that void or that knowledge gap, and to validate whether the decision that you're making is feasible, technically feasible or not. The architect should also strive to write the best production quality proof of concept codes they can. It's a proof of concept, it's a POC, but still they need to, strive to write the best production quality, because oftentimes that POC code ends up in the actual source code. Like, I developed it just to see if, we can achieve it with that way that I, as an architect, think. But the developers are like, well, you already have this working, so we're just gonna use this and build on top of it. And if this is rotten, the whole thing is gonna be rotten, right? So that's why it's important to focus on writing actual production quality code, even though it's a POC, because it can be the foundation for the future features that I'll, planned on top of it, and become a reference architecture or a guiding example, even worse, a guiding example that others will follow. If your POC code is smelly, usually architects have like a mentor or a coach responsibilities to the team. If this is written by the coach and I'm a developer, I'm just gonna follow, right? If smelly code is what code should be, or of what code is, then smelly code I will produce. So yeah, strive to write the best production quality POC code, even though it's a POC. Another tip is to tackle technical depth stories or architecture stories. These are usually low priority, so if the architect doesn't have time to finish them, it's not the end of the world. It's not going to impact the success of the product. We're talking about technical depth, which usually involves refactoring code, cleaning up, just refactoring. Another thing that the architect can focus on to maintain hands-on coding is fixing bugs. This is important. I mean, we know as developers that we don't want to fix bugs, we want to build features, right? Architects have a special benefit of focusing on bugs because they can identify, bugs will help identify where the issues are and where the weaknesses lie in the code base, or potentially even the architecture, right? Some bugs are caused by the architecture itself or by the structure, right? And you made that decision. And the developers might not know that this is caused by the architecture, or they might know, but they don't know how to fix that because it's an architectural fix. It's not a source code fix, right? Or it's like a larger than just write some code and fix it. That's why it's important to, focus on fixing bugs, because, they give more to the architect than they give to the developer. If you're a developer, bugs suck. But if you're an architect, they can show you some, more details that are of interest of you. Then the architect can also focus on creating simple command line tools like CLI tools and analyzers for the development team. Look for repetitive tasks that the team performs and automate the process. There's also mention of fitness functions in this case. And fitness functions are, I still don't know, I haven't reached that point in the book, but fitness functions are basically unit tests for the architecture. And I feel like those are going to be really cool. But yeah, you can focus on those. It's still coding, it's still writing code. But yeah. And the last tip is to do frequent code reviews. This allows the architect to ensure compliance with the architecture, and also to seek out mentoring and coaching opportunities within the team. It's not really hands-on coding, right? It doesn't fulfill the hands-on coding aspect, the important aspect of hands-on coding, but it's still important because there's mentoring and coaching involved. And when developers make those decisions that affect the architecture and they tag you to the PR, you as an architect, you're going to notice that and you're going to talk about that within the same PR, right? So if there's an issue and of implementing something that you decided to be implemented, doing code reviews, you're gonna catch it and you're gonna talk to the development team about it. Why can it be implemented and how you can make a compromise, basically. So yeah, that's also like how you can. That's why it's important to balance architecture and hands-on coding, and like how you can do that. Just stay away from critical codes. Leave that to the team. Do like POCs, technical depth. Do some refactoring. Fix bugs. Do some code reviews. For an architect, that's going to be enough, like hard skills in coding, and yeah, this is chapter 2, architectural thinking. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot them in the chat or join the Discord. Let me actually post a link to the Discord in case creatures.sh, in case some of the viewers are not haven't joined. But yeah, next up is, let's see. Next up is modularity. And if this is a short, I don't know if this is a short chapter, we might do like 2: modularity and also the architecture characteristics. So here's modularity. Measuring modularity, coupling. Okay, there's some cool stuff. It is, there we go, 37 to 55. It's like 18 pages, but once I summarize it, it might be even less. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. I'm really excited for the architecture characteristics and also identifying architectural characteristics. I think I went through these 2 chapters a few months ago or last year when I read the book, and I didn't finish it. So so it was pretty cool to to see. There's a lot more examples like this one in the book. So it's gonna be pretty cool. Let me catch up with some of the chat messages. My headphones aren't working. That's too bad. React Django AI powered resume app episode 12. I decided to put a pause on that because I have other responsibilities. I got a new project that I need to build for work, and I would rather spend the time on that one because it has more urgency. I might like restart it down the road. We'll see. Leonid asked, what keyboards are you using? I'm using the Voyager, ZSA Voyager. I think this is like the end game keyboard, at least for me. It's a wild keyboard, split keyboard. And if I break this one, I'm just gonna buy another one. It's that good. I do have a uses section. So if you go to nikoloflazar.com and click on the uses, just paste this right here, and click on the uses at the top, you'll be taken to a Notion document that I try to maintain, and you'll see all of my keyboards and all of my gear, and cameras and whatnot, microphones, basically everything that I use on a daily basis. And I also plan to add some I plan to add some software stuff, maybe even like books section, right? We are reading a pretty good book. I would like to recommend that. So yeah, I look into that in the future. If you like it that much, buy another one now. By the time you break it, they will have discontinued it. That's true. That's true. They might just discontinue it, and I mean we're talking about years, because it's a metal keyboard, and I don't break it in a way that, you know, gamers break their keyboards. You know, I don't smash it. So yeah, it's gonna be years. It better be years, because it's not a cheap keyboard, so I don't want to like replace it next year. My favorite keyboard ever was discontinued about a year before mine started having issues. I had that thing for 10 years and I would love to have replacement of that model. Yeah, I mean, I guess like how the Kinesis keyboards are discontinued. They don't make these models anymore. They make the 360s with Bluetooth and stuff. And they have been known to have some issues, but it's just not the same. You know, it's not the same ergonomics. This, if it wasn't that big, I would still be using that keyboard. I love it. But yeah, I got this one because I wanted a more portable solution. So yeah, the Voyager, I would say, is better than the Kinesis. Yeah, this is a Keychron Q1, I think, Q1, and this is a custom Sentry keyboard. Let's see. I'm still surprised that there is no budget solution in terms of split ergo keyboards. Seems to me like if you don't want to 3D print anything yourself and solder PCBs, you're looking at 400 plus easily. Yeah. I hate that my Keychron won't stay paired. This one is wired. Yeah. And that's a used car in our regions, my right? Oh, totally. Yeah. Totally. I mean, the car that I had a Peugeot 201 or 207. No, 407. I don't even know. It was it was cheaper than my MacBook. I'm wired my Bluetooth one to my other PC and I use a Corsair K100. That's a keyboard? Corsair K100s? So I have a Corsair thingy, but it's a TBT200. It's the dock. But you're probably not talking about the dock. All right. It's a keyboard. It's pretty big. K100. Okay, low profile? No, it's not low profile. It's just the... Oh, this is the Air one. Yeah, it's a shiny keyboard. Looks good though. I like this volume thingy. The Keychron had has the thumb, the knob, and I configured it to control the volume because that's like the only thing that I want to control with yeah. Awesome. All right, CodeCrafters.io. Let's move on to Redis. By the way, let me just check something real quick. There it is. The CodeCrafters folks gave me a code that I can share with you. Here it is in the chat. So if you want to continue at your own pace, this code has like a 40% discount. So yeah, if you want to subscribe and, you know, don't pay the whole thing, just do 60% with my code. And I'm also gonna get like some percentage as well. So yeah, win-win for all of us, right? Is the work project going well? Which work project? And Boris says, hello there. How's it going? Which project? The one that I mentioned, the one with the trivia. I still haven't started that, to be honest, but I will this week, maybe off stream, because I need that done pretty fast. Yeah, yeah. I'm about to start it. It's a trivia application that is going to be used in person on meetups by the audience to win swag items. So I have this, yeah, let's just like talk about it a little bit. I have this idea of like creating a program at Sentry that will allow the community to volunteer organizing meetups, right? So you're not, I am employed at Sentry and I can organize meetups on behalf of Sentry, but I want everyone to be able to, you know, to organize a meetup if they wanted to. And they would communicate with me. I would send them money for drinks and pizzas and stuff. I would send them a bunch of swag items like t-shirts and, you know, I don't know, Sentry has some wild swag. I wish I had some of that, to be honest. But yeah, basically meetups with technical talks, in person with a bunch of people in the audience. They get free t-shirts. They get some, you know, they get to hear some cool talks by local developers. And the idea is to have a trivia application where everyone can like scan a QR code and, you know, answer some fun technical questions. It's not going to be an interview, of course, but you know. And the person with the most, or the 3 or the top 5 people with the biggest score are going to get some cool or cooler swag items, you know? Yeah, so that's the general idea. And I plan to build that really fast. No clean architecture, no domain-driven design, no Python. It's just gonna be, probably it's gonna be Next.js with Supabase, because I can whip things up faster with that stack. And I would just, you know, continue scaling it from that point on. A nice to have is to also make a feature that will allow other companies to like register, create their trivia sets, and, you know, have their own, basically play their own games. Yeah, it's great for, you know, spinning up proof of concepts, because this is going to be a POC basically. Yeah. Awesome. I can like create videos on updating the progress, or like just go touching through the, it's gonna be an open source application anyways. So I'm gonna share the code base with you, and I can also make some videos about, you know, here's how I did this, here's how I did that, just some highlights if I, you know, if I find anything interesting. But yeah, it's gonna be a POC. I just need to do it. I need to have it done by the end of the month, so I got 2 weeks to build it. We'll see. All right, continuing with build your own Redis. We started with Redis, and we actually did, let me see, tmux at, we want to get into, where is it? CodeCrafters, Redis, TypeScript. Yeah, we are building Redis in TypeScript. Okay, of course it's going to complain, neovim. Now I need to restart it, and now it's broken. Yeah. Another thing is I need to ditch lazy vim. I don't know, it's, I keep needing to, you know, restart the whole thing, and I'm sick. Might take some time to go through kickstart.nvim and just build out my own configuration, because I keep updating and it keeps breaking. I don't want that. Okay. Let me just get this down. I would love to go to a Central meetup, and really any dev meetup. My town doesn't do stuff like that. Are there any developers in your town? Because if there are, you can organize that meetup if you wanted to. Yeah. All right. We went through all of this, and now we're getting into RDB persistence. You'll add support for reading RDB files or Redis database files. In this stage, you'll add support for two configuration parameters related to RDB persistence, as well as the config get command. Nice. An RDB file is a point-in-time snapshot of a Redis dataset. When RDB persistence is enabled, the Redis server synchronizes its in-memory state with the RDB file by doing the following. On startup, the Redis server loads the data from the RDB file. While running, the Redis server periodically takes new snapshots of the dataset in order to update the RDB file. Cool. So this means in case Redis, the server, because it keeps everything in memory, right? That means if the server restarts, in memory is gone, right? The RAM or the virtual RAM is wiped and the data is lost. But the RDB files are basically snapshots that convert the in-memory data to the disk, basically. And Redis needs to reload the data on startup and also take periodic snapshots. This is going to be cool. The configuration parameters, directory and DB file name specify where the RDB is located. Of course, there is the directory, the file name. The config get returns the values of the configuration parameters. It takes in one or more configuration parameters and returns the RESP array of key value pairs. Although config get can fetch multiple parameters at a time, the tester will only send config get commands with one parameter at a time. So in reality, or like the real Redis has config get and that's it, and it returns the whole thing. But in our case, we only need to support a single parameter at a time. All right, the tester will execute their program like this, and then it will send the dir and db file name. So first thing that we need to see is that we need to parse these CLI arguments first, the flags for the directory and the file name, store them, and then it will send us the config get for us. Nice. We don't need to create the file. We just need to store them somewhere and then return these parameters. Okay. This is our Redis. This is our DB. It's in memory. And this is the server. Aside from this, we also need to trigger or like, let's see. Yeah, do not need to read the actual file. You just need to store these two in memory. Reading will be covered in a later stage. Okay. Cool. Let's see. We're still in a single file, and I think eventually we will need to break out into other files, especially like converting data into the RESP string. Does Redis persist data if the server reboots? Yeah, it does. That's the RDB file, and we will implement that as well. Okay, so just before the server listen, we need to get the arguments from the CLI. So how did we do that? How to get arguments passed from the CLI? Let's see. Process.argv. There we go. argv. We need to import process. And the CLI arguments, they start from the third one. Aaron, how's it going? Dude, happy holidays. How have you been? How's the Redis course? Is it good? So far, I've been really enjoying it. Yeah, it's really fun. Import everything as process from process. It is a bit buggy, yeah. It is a bit buggy, but it does the job, you know. Sometimes I get two of the ask tabs and switching, you know, doing this basically crashes the plugin, but you know, it's better than not having anything, I guess. All right, here's process, and basically the args are going to be process.argv.split slice, actually, not split, slice from the third on. You can break it too. Oh, I haven't noticed that. Let me see. Oh, come on now. How did we test? Oh, actually, we need to do this basically. Oh, damn it. CodeCrafters test, was it? Is that one complete? Foxbit not switched to Ghosty yet. No, I don't see a reason to switch to Ghosty. It's new, but no. I tried getting a config going, but I have like this subtle gradient background, and I think it asked me to develop a custom shader to have like an image background. So I was like, you know what, it's still new. It doesn't have that way. I also like Lua. Okay, let's see. Check this out. The arguments are these, right? We have the directory for the first and the DB file name for the second. And it's going to be pretty much the same always. So we can say directory is, let's actually do this. Directory and DB file path. File name, not path. Name, there we go. If the process, let me just say process argv slice 2, if the arguments, and we need to target the first one, is dir, exactly, I want to get the second argument is going to be that one. And then again, oh, damn it. Again, when the third argument is not db but db file name, we want to get the fourth argument and store that to the db file name. So now we have both of these. And let's actually figure this part out. Trying to see. Yeah, dude, Wes is, I don't know. I like Wes. There was also, what was the command line? Command palettes. Oh yeah, Control Shift and P. This one, really cool. And I built my own custom command, toggle terminal transparency, so that I can make a transparent terminal. and it really shines through when you have the background here, as you can see. And I've used this to record some of my YouTube videos where I have my, background behind me. So yeah, I needed that. Wes allowed me to have like a custom command, so I'm gonna use Wes. All right, we got these two, and now we just need to figure out the commands. First, I'm looking at the payload, and if I can somehow convert this into a function, because I don't want to keep writing, the actual, what was the name? RESP bulk string. Yeah, length, carrier, end of line, data, carrier, end of line. Yeah. So let's do utils.ts. We're gonna keep it simple. Export function to RESP bulk string. This is going to take a payload, which is going to be a string. It's going to return $. Was it $? Yes, $, and then another $, payload.length. Oh, deleted that. And then carrier return. And then we have the payload itself. And then again, carrier return to RESP bulk string. There we go. So in this case, I need to write change in brackets. I'm gonna say to RESP bulk string payload. There we go. In this case, still it's gonna be OK, capital. The ping pong is a unique. I don't think it's an RESP bulk string. And in this case, again, we just need a C in B value. That's it. We're gonna keep this -1. All right, cool. I actually used your video to configure my West term config. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, West is cool. West term is cool. All right, so we have another command that we need to do. If commands, at some point, all these ifs need to be, converted in a smart way. The first thing that you can think of is switch, and maybe a switch is the best in this case. But we might want to convert these pieces of code into like a command handlers. All right, so we have a command and we just we pass in the parts. We pass in the parts to the command handler, and so that we can clean this up. I'm going to delete these two. Console logs. I'm gonna keep this one, and let's actually do that. Commands, and let's say we're gonna do commands / echo.ts. Export function echo command. We'll get the connection. It's going to be a net.socket, and we need to bring in net as well. and also the parts, which is going to be a string array. So we don't know, we're gonna parse it, you know, ourselves. And all we need to do is just this. There we go. Accept this, payload, and that's it. And in here, all I need to do is just echo command. Pass in the connection and the parts, and that's it. And then we have the set command, which is going to be pretty much the same as this one. So I'm going to pull in these two and just make some room. Export function set command will get the connection net dot, or maybe we should maybe we shouldn't pass the connection itself, but pass whatever, you know, pass whatever we are getting from the command itself. Yeah, let's actually do that. We're just gonna get the parts. Let's go back to this, and instead of connection.write, we're gonna do return to RESP and only get the parts. Like this. And then do connection.write echo command connection. Right? That's it. And then we have the set command. And the set command basically does this. Oh, there's a DB now. There's a DB. And we need to share that. Any? Oh no. I had this. Well, yeah, let's actually export type DB is going to be this. And this is going to be the type so that we can reuse this in here. There we go. Like this. Nice. So the DB comes first always in all of the commands. Even though it's not being used, we still need to have this as like a first argument. Just as a consistency. Oh, not here. There we go. The set is also done, so all we need to do is just do connection.write set command DB and parts. There we go. There's also the get command. Not the echo, but the get. And we need to do this. But instead of connection.write, we need to just return either the value and not the actual value, return to RESP bulk. Bulks. This should have been just bulk. And in this case, we want to return just this, nothing else. goddammit, GSR previous, oh, GSR previous, this quote, and then with a single quote, and actually a single quote. There we go. Okay, we are returning this, so the get command is also done, and all we need to do is this connection.write get command db endparts. Okay, so since we have this now, what we can do is let the output, right, and do a switch, not swatch, a switch on the command. If we have ping, we want to get the output to be the just this, basically. Ponk. So with the ch, there we go. Now we're gonna do output. So we have one connection, right? And we need to say that this is going to be a string. By default, we can set something like yeah, let's actually do the pong. Yeah. Yeah. Now we have that covered. Let's do echo. And echo is going to be the echo command, db in part. This can even be a record, to be honest, where the it's the same as switch. Let's just do that. Set output is going to be the set command. And the get is going to be the get command. There we go. Now we don't need these. That's it. We have all the commands here. We're parsing the arguments. We got the parse and the command. Based on the command, we invoke a specific. We grab the output and we write the output back. That's always the case. Let me just test to just make sure that we have this correctly implemented. Yeah, everything is done until this point, and now we need to do the get directory. So the get is going to be interesting. We have the DB here. But we have the directory and the DB file name outside. This is basically going to be the config. So instead of doing this, I'm gonna do config is this. I'm gonna do config directory. It's going to be a record of a string and probably any. Just keep it as any. Oh, the other way. There we go. Config before that. There we go. Okay, nice. Now we have the config. We have the might even like export the config as well. Well, here we'll just do here. Right, so the get takes a key and value, And we need to return the name and the directory and also the value. In this case, the get command so far, is it the same? No, it's config get actually, so it's not, yeah. I'm gonna copy this one to config get. It's going to be pretty similar, but not the same. Same, but not the same, different. So it's gonna be config get, and there's a space. There's a space. That means, what does that mean? Do we actually have the command? Or is it just config? Yeah, it's just config. It's not get. There we go. So there's the command name in this case has two names, two words. Interesting. So parsing this is going to be different now. Damn. No, that doesn't look good. So far, we've had single word commands. Now we have a two-word command, and we need to parse that. We need to parse that. Maybe we should be using like an index of instead of targeting the actual indexes. For example, we have the parts. In order to get the command part, we should look for the first index of either of these. And once we get that, we can split, we can get the command and then not split it, but slice the data string from the command plus length on, and that's going to be the data, right? And that's when we actually split it on the carrier return. Let's actually get that. So the possible commands, we're going to define an array. Commands, right? And basically put all of the ones that we handle. So that's ping, echo, set, get, and config get, right? These are our commands. Can do like, let's just do commands. In here, once we have the data string, before we do the parts, we are going to do this. Let's see, command, or let's just say, we basically want to do command equals commands dot map get the CMD, and then get the if and then do the data string index of CMD. And this is going to return an like -1 or something. And then I want to do I want to get the value out of this. I want to do a filter first. Larger or greater than -1. So like give me the one, give me the winner basically. Or actually not. Hold on a second. We have a data string and the command itself can be extracted out of it. It's basically find the index. I think this should be done with a reduce. Let's see, commands dot reduce. The return value of the callback function is the accumulated result, and it's provided as an argument in the next call to the callback function. Yeah. Okay, so we have the accumulate first, and then we have the command. And we need to return something. So we have the command here, and we can say if data string index of CMD is greater than -1, right? We should say return these have any. It's all right. Just return CMD, I guess. Right? I'm not doing reduces that often. So let's say reduce the commands array to fish out the command from the data string. Okay, let's see what it says. Index of return CMD. Oh, of course, yeah. Return ACC, which is going to be, yeah, that's what we're missing. Which is going to be nothing. In this case, it returns a string. And the command is going to be that. Right? Actually, I'm going to do the command and the data index, or like the arguments index. Let's see. Parts index. Okay, let's do that. In this case, instead of just a command, we'll have the index here, and we are going to return the command and also the index plus the length of the command. Okay, that's what we're returning. And we want to destructure that. So what's the issue here? Cannot redeclare block scoped command, that because it's redeclared at the bottom. But there's a different thing. It's not assignable to string. String or number array is not assignable to type string. So the type should be an array or a tuple of string and number. Really? Reduce is a generic, so we should... Oh, it's not. It is, yeah. reduce U callback function. It returns U. The ACC is going to be U. Current value is going to be T. Index is going to be a number. And then there's an array. Oh yeah, the initial array. It's going to be an empty, I guess. How is this? Oh, okay. There we go. It's not assignable string and number. Well, it's gonna be like, damn it. It's not gonna be like this. And now it's the command here. We wanna remove that, and there we go. So parts index, this should be correct, but parts index means that we need to split or slice the data string from that point on. So first we want to slice that from parts index, and then we want to split it by the carriage return or carrier return. And these are going to be the parts. So if I log them out, parts with capital P, and also log out the command, we should see, we should see this being correct, basically. Okay, so the command is get, and the parse is config. What? Config get. Oh, look at that. Yeah. See, we have the get before the config get. Because it's part of it. What if I use this then? Command is still get. Okay, return that. Still config get. That's not, it shouldn't happen like that. So it's not really. It's not really fixing it, right? It's getting the get because it is a different command. Like this is what we're sending. Config get directory. Get is one command, and it's like inside of it, inside of the config get. So when get comes, it matches, right? It matches this, but there's config before it. How do we fix this? It says that ordering, just what I did here, is the case. We did try that, didn't we? We did try that, but the command wasn't config get. And the command is still get. Yeah, that's not smart. Not the solution. Regex, yeah. Hmm. Using regex. Well, let's see then. Command is still get. So like, what is the rule for the command names? Is there a config set? There is no config set, most likely. Oh, there is a config set. So these commands, they can definitely come in multiple words. Or just two. One or two, as far as I can see. Where the first one, if there is a first word, then it's basically like a command group. If there's a second word, it's the actual command. So let's see. There's definitely that's enough for us to, you know, parse it. Look at this with the dot. Beautiful. It's one word. Config get directory. That's the data. The data parts are basically these. $3 directory is the only thing I can remove the empty and make this a pair. But we are still missing the command, the whole command name. It's like if we can match the command name, but maybe reduce is not the case. But I actually need to go through all of these. So let's do that then. I'm gonna say get here, so we can first try to match on the config get, and if that's not the case, we'll just do the get. And instead of reducing, which is like overly complicated, I can just like for each this or map this where we have the command, just the command, like this. I'm gonna return undefined here. There's not gonna be like a second one, so either if there's a match, return it. Return it and break it. For each would be to break out, and this would be break it. So I can actually do filter boolean and like get the first element. That would be the command. The parts index would be let's also return the parts index. Yeah. Oh, we actually do have the index for the match. Yeah. But the issue here, or undefined, must have a iterator method that returns an iterator. Oh, because it's an undefined. So I'm filtering on the Boolean. That should get rid of the undefineds. Yeah, let's just... We're complicating things. I'm gonna let the command and the parts index like this. It's not gonna be a map, it's gonna be a for each. Just go through them. We're not gonna return anything. We're just gonna say command is cmd, and then parts index is going to be the match.index plus the length of the command. We're not gonna do this. There's no filtering involved. There's nothing. Just that's it. And if this is the case, then we're gonna break out. Jump target cannot cross function boundary. Break out of the for each. I want to break out of the for each. If I say continue, yeah. How to break out of for each earlier. Maybe we can't. So instead of doing a for each, we can do the classic for command of commands. And instead of providing a callback in a function scope, we're still in the same scope, so we can break out like this. Okay? Just see. Yeah. And now we have the parts, we have the parts index, we have everything. In this case, the command should be config get, not just get, because we're gonna break out earlier. There, command get. What is going on? Match the regex. Data string. Oh, is config $3 get. That's the data string. Oh, yeah. Yep. So technically, config space get. That was the issue all along. Because the data string here's a data string. It matches get, but it doesn't match config get because it's $3. Okay. And if we do this, right? If we do this, we get the match, but what if we do this then? $, then something, replace it with a space. In that case, our data string Let's see if this works now. There we go. So the command is config get. As you can see, the data is star3 config get directory, which is basically what we have here. Nice. The parts, it's only directory. Right. And the parts, let's see, the parts, we're going to slice from the parts index, split it on the, I don't think we're going to need to do that now because we already do that on the carriage return. Split it on the carriage return. I'm not sure if the thing that we're doing here is allowed, but I don't know. Let's see. We might be breaking other parts of the functionality. However, the part that's left is the directory here. Slice and split, and then map. Just trim it because there's going to be spaces. There it is. So we're gonna pass config get into config get command, which already exists. We can just import it. And here it is. We don't care about the key in this case. We want to grab the config from main. Oh, there we go. Hey Isabella, thanks for the follow. I'm gonna grab the config from here and actually get the probably the key, but it's gonna be like the first path, the first path, and we need to return this like this. Yeah. Basically say return to RESP bulk string. Let me actually rename this. There we go. RESP bulk string, and it's going to be this thing and then this thing. And the RESP bulk string only does the $, the parameter name, and the parameter value. $, that's it. RN, yeah. So it's going to be, it's not going to be like this, it's going to be an RESP array. So this is probably the, oh yeah, there we go. Okay, here's what we can do. We have the utilities here, right? And we can say export function to RESP array, and we can get the elements, right? Or parts, items. It's gonna be a string of any. You can pass any basically inside, or just like strings. There we go. And now we need to return a length. There we go. Yeah, exactly that. So we need to return the array length first with the star, carriage return. For every item, we need to convert it to a bulk string and then return rn is part of the bulk string. Yeah, and then just return the resp array. So in this case, we need to do to resp array, the items are going to be the value of the key itself and then the value of that configuration. Like this, config get command is going to be resp array of that. Save this, actually save all. There we go. No. Now if I go to main, this technically should be okay. Let's run the tests. Okay. Command get mango. Undefined is not an object. The parts is mango. Payload.length. And this is in where? Probably here in the resp array. I'm gonna log out the config just so I can make sure that we have the value. Oh, it's in the command get. Oh, it's not even here. It's in the command get. Ah, there we go. Yeah, the keys are different now. So the keys, they don't start from 4 because we are splitting. Yeah, there we go. 0 and 2, 4 and 6, basically. We need to get the key. Oh, yeah, there we go. Echo as well. Let's try that again. This is the reason. The parts index, basically. We cut out everything from the command on, but we didn't before, so I think that's gonna be, let's see. Get grape, command is grape, the parts is grape, so the key is gonna be grape. And what is gonna be the case? You know, the right side of, okay. No content received, so it's like an empty string. On the get grape. Now we need to db key. Okay, console log key value. Let's see if we get that right, at least. I don't even see the logs. Command is get, the parts is get mango. Does this get even executed? Okay, so the key is apple, the parts is apple, cool. Oh, maybe the DB is... Maybe it's a DB actually. Okay, figure it out. DB is pair grape px 100. What? Value is undefined. So there's the situation. So most likely our set command is broken right here. So you see these parts. Okay. Console log set parts. Just so we can see what's going on in the set command, because the set is not setting things right. Set parts banana grape px 100. There we go. We need to split the parts based on the an empty. We need to trim all of them and then map where the part is. split on the space. And now parts. Oh, it's just like split on the space, not every part. Actually, it is split on the space, and it's not going. It's going to be a flat map instead. Trim needs to be outside. Because of the white, because of the space. Actually, we might not need a trim now. Let's see. Until that point, it looks like everything is okay. The command is config get. We do need a... There's an empty over there, and then we try to get that. Yeah, flat map here on the trim. Maybe we should do the trim first, actually, yeah. Filter. There we go. This should be it now. Okay. Command is set parts apple pair px100 1 2 3. The set command needs fixing, but everything else I think it should be okay. Key in value is 0 and 2. 0 and 1 actually. 2 and 3. Yeah, because we had that $sign, but we already got rid of that too. So key value and then the timeout and 0 1 2 3. Yeah, not, and the length should be 2 or equal, greater than or equal to 3, because we need to make sure that we get that. Okay, there's another thing here, 0 strawberry. That's on the get grape. So let's see. RESP bulk string. And I should be going real quick, because I'm already at time. Let me see. Yeah, I got like 30 minutes stops. All right. Let's check the value here to see where the issue might be. Oh, for some reason it actually succeeded. Okay. We don't need the value. We just get rid of the any console logs that we don't need. There we go. Let's do a test again. Something's... What is that? It's not consistent, you see? And now it is. That's weird. Okay. Let me try to submit this. There we go. Whew. Woohoo. Single key from the RDB file. The file format looks like this. Whoa, look at that. It's a magic string plus the version number Redis 0011. We're gonna definitely look into this next week on the next stream because I'm running out of time. But I guess we'll get to play with some stuff like this. Cool. Okay, yeah, we're not even gonna start this one. This was fun. Pretty cool. I'm also glad that I took the time to just refactor the commands, you know, improve the parser for the parts and everything. Hopefully, I didn't make a mistake there, but we'll see. We'll see. The $sign dot, I think it should be either dot or a star. See regexer cheat sheet. The star is 0 or more, but the plus is 1 or more. Okay, so I need a plus actually to be more, you know, to be more correct. CodeCrafters. If I do a test now, let's see if that made any changes. Yeah, and now this is the keys. This is the new stage, basically. Okay, it should be okay. Should be okay. All right, cool. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. This was fun. I'm going to see you all either next Monday, because I decided to drop Friday for streams. Either next Monday or definitely next Wednesday. Okay? Take care, everyone. Thanks for joining. And yeah, have a good weekend. I'm gonna see you next week.